Have you ever found yourself in the presence of a man whose silence speaks louder than any declaration you have ever heard? A man whose words are a carefully constructed fortress, but whose actions are a constant, quiet betrayal of the feelings locked inside? Many people will tell you that if a man wants you, he will move mountains to tell you. They will offer you simplistic rules, black and white axioms for a world that is painted in infinite shades of gray. They will say his silence is a sign of disinterest, his hesitation a red flag, his lack of verbal pursuit a definitive answer. But a woman who has awakened, a woman who has learned to listen not with her ears but with her entire being, she knows a different truth. She understands that the most profound emotions are often the ones that have no words, the ones that live in the spaces between sentences, in the quality of a gaze, in the unconscious orientation of a body across a crowded room. The real answer is not that he is playing games, nor is it necessarily that he is not interested. The reality is often far deeper, far more complex, and infinitely more revealing. It is a story of fear, of unspoken longing, and of a heart that is falling against its own will. And for the woman who has the clarity to see it, this silent language is not a source of anxiety, but a source of profound, unshakable knowing. In this exploration, we will not merely list behaviors. We will decode an entire language. We will unravel the 5 quiet ways a man's soul admits what his mouth will not, the subtle gestures that are the confessions of a guarded heart. And I urge you to stay until the very end, because the 5th and final behavior is the most potent of all. It is the one that shatters the fortress completely, revealing the truth in a way that is more powerful than any spoken word could ever be. This phenomenon, this dynamic of the unspoken, is not a new romantic comedy trope. It is an archetypal dance as old as time. It is the dance between the guarded masculine and the intuitive feminine. A renowned psychologist once wrote that what we deny or repress does not cease to exist. It simply goes into the shadow, from where it influences our behavior in unconscious ways. The feelings a man refuses to acknowledge, his fear of vulnerability, his past wounds, his burgeoning love, do not vanish. Instead, they leak. They seep through the cracks of his carefully maintained composure. They express themselves not in grand pronouncements, but in the minutiae of his existence. This is where the awakened woman places her attention. She is not waiting for a text message. She is observing the energy behind the silence. She is not analyzing the words he says. She is feeling the truth of what he does. This is a form of power that the world rarely teaches women to cultivate. Society teaches women to seek external validation, to wait for the man to choose, to declare, to define the relationship. The script is written for us. His action is the catalyst, her reaction is the story. But this woman, she has thrown that script into the fire. Her journey of individuation, of becoming a whole and sovereign being, has given her a new set of eyes. She understands that her own perception is the primary text. His behavior is merely the data she inputs into her own highly calibrated intuitive system. She is not a passive recipient of his mixed signals. She is an active observer of his soul's leakage. And this is not an act of arrogance or assumption. It is an act of profound presence. It is the result of her own inner work, of having faced her own shadows so fiercely that she can now recognize them in another. She is not looking for a man to complete her, and so she is not desperate for his words to validate her. Her wholeness is the very lens through which she can see him clearly. Before she became this woman, she was someone else entirely. She was a woman who lived in the hollow ache of waiting. She once measured her own worth by the frequency of a man's calls, by the poetry of his compliments, by the certainty in his voice when he spoke of a future. His silence would have been a torment, a personal indictment of her desirability, her value. She would have filled that silence with her own anxieties, projecting 1,000 scenarios of rejection onto the blank screen of his quiet. She would have contorted herself into whatever shape she thought might please him, might coax the words of affection from his lips. She would have asked, "What are we?" A question that is not a search for clarity, but a plea for validation. She confused attachment with love, anxiety with passion, and control with security. She participated in relationships that were built on a toxic feedback loop. her need for reassurance feeding his emotional distance, and his distance amplifying her need. She loved until she lost herself, pouring her essence into cracked vessels, hoping that if she gave enough, she would finally be considered enough. She listened to the advice of a world that told her to be less, to want less, to not be too intense, to play it cool. She tried to bargain with a universe that does not bargain. She accepted crumbs and called it a feast because she was starving for a love she had not yet learned to give herself. That woman from the past would see the silent man as a project, a puzzle to be solved, a mountain to be conquered. His emotional unavailability would have been a challenge to her ego. His guardedness would have been a locked door she felt compelled to pick. The entire dynamic would have been about her ability to make him change, to make him open, to make him love her. It was a game of external power, a game she was destined to lose, because the only person she could ever truly change was herself. The transformation was not a single lightning bolt moment of epiphany. It was a slow, grueling, and deeply painful awakening. It was born from the ashes of one too many disappointments, one too many nights spent staring at a silent phone, one too many moments of realizing she was the only one fighting for a connection. The pain eventually became so great that it stopped being just pain and started being information. The exhaustion became so profound that it stopped being a burden and started being a boundary. She reached a point where the cost of seeking love outside of herself became higher than the fear of being alone. And in that sacred, terrifying space, she finally turned her gaze inward. She began a descent into the underworld of her own psyche, facing the ghosts of her past, the unmet needs of her inner child, the societal programming that had told her she was a half waiting for another half. She sat in the silence she had once so desperately tried to fill, and instead of finding emptiness, she found a presence. Her own. She learned to nourish herself with solitude, to listen to the rhythms of her own body, to honor the wisdom of her own feelings. She stopped asking, "What does he think of me?" and started asking, "How do I feel in his presence? Does he bring me peace or anxiety? Does he energize my soul or drain it?" This was the great transmutation. She was not just healing. She was alchemizing her pain into power, her neediness into sovereignty. She made a pact with herself, a sacred vow whispered into the quiet of her own heart. She would never again betray herself for the sake of being chosen. She would never again accept a love that required her to shrink. She would be the one who chooses, and she would choose based on resonance, not on longing. This inner work is what calibrated her perception. It is why she can now sit with a man's silence and not feel a void, but rather feel the rich tapestry of information woven within it. The first and most fundamental behavior she recognizes is the shift in the very nature of his gaze. A man who is simply interested or physically attracted looks, but a man who is falling in love sees. There is a profound difference. When a man is falling, his gaze acquires a certain gravity. It is no longer just a tool for observation. It becomes an act of connection, an invisible thread that he casts out to her, whether he intends to or not. She will catch him watching her when he thinks she is not aware. He is not looking at her body with simple lust, though that may be present. He is looking at her face when she is lost in thought, when she is laughing with someone else, when she is focused on a task. In these unguarded moments, his expression is not one of evaluation, but of contemplation. It is a look of quiet wonder, as if he is trying to memorize the curve of her smile, the way light catches in her hair, the specific energy she radiates into a room. It is a gaze that says, "I am trying to figure you out, and it is the most compelling mystery I have ever encountered." This is not the predatory stare of a man on the hunt, nor the vacant look of polite conversation. It is a soft, focused intensity. When she is speaking in a group, she can feel the weight of his attention solely on her. Others may be in the conversation, but for him, she is the only one in the room. His eyes will find hers across a crowded space, and for a fleeting second, there is a silent acknowledgement that passes between them, a shared secret that only they are privy to. He holds eye contact a fraction of a second longer than is socially conventional, not in a way that is challenging, but in a way that is searching. It is in that extra millisecond that the truth resides. He is taking her in, absorbing her essence, and his eyes are betraying a hunger that is not of the body, but of the soul. This woman recognizes it because it mirrors the way she has learned to see the world, with depth, presence, and an appreciation for the details that tell the real story. The second behavior is a law of physics rewritten by the heart, the proximity principle. A man who is fighting his feelings for a woman will find himself in a constant, subconscious war with space itself. His mind might be screaming for distance, for self-preservation, but his body, a more honest vessel, will betray him at every turn. It will seek her out. This is not about overt advances or violations of personal space. It is far more subtle, more elemental. In a social setting, he will gravitate towards her orbit. He may not speak to her directly, but he will end up standing a few feet away, leaning against a wall in her general vicinity, joining a conversation circle that she is a part of. It is as if an invisible magnetic force is pulling him closer, and he is only partially aware of his own movement. His body orients itself towards her. Even if he is talking to someone else, she will notice that his feet, his torso, are angled in her direction. It is a primal, territorial signal of focus and interest. He will find excuses for incidental physical proximity. He will choose the chair next to hers in a meeting. He will walk beside her when leaving a building, matching her pace unconsciously. He might pass by her desk at work more often than is strictly necessary, using a flimsy pretext of needing the printer or talking to a colleague nearby. These are not calculated moves. They are the impulses of a body that wants to be near a source of warmth, a source of energy that it finds compelling. This woman of deep perception does not see this as clinginess. She sees it for what it is. His subconscious trying to close the gap that his conscious mind is so desperately trying to maintain. She observes it with a quiet, knowing neutrality. She feels the subtle shift in the energy of the space when he enters it, the almost imperceptible pull he exerts on the very air around her. She knows that where the body goes, the heart has already led the way. His proximity is not a strategy. It is a confession. The third quiet behavior is perhaps the most touching, for it reveals the workings of a heart that has already begun to cherish her. He becomes the keeper of small things. Our modern world is a fire hose of information. We are constantly forgetting, deleting, moving on to the next stimulus. To remember is a conscious act of filtration, an unconscious act of prioritization. A man who is falling in love becomes an archivist of her minutiae. He remembers the things she says in passing, the details she herself might forget she ever shared. He will recall that she mentioned a fondness for a specific type of obscure tea, and weeks later, he will mention seeing it in a shop. He will remember a story she told about a childhood fear of thunderstorms, and during a storm, he will send a simple, neutral message asking if she is okay. He remembers the name of her dog, the town where her grandmother lives, the book she said she wanted to read 2 months ago. These are not the grand, memorable facts of a resume. They are the tiny, intimate pixels that make up the portrait of her soul. A man who is merely a friend or a casual acquaintance operates on a need-to-know basis. He retains information that is useful or directly relevant to their shared activities. But a man whose heart is engaged operates differently. His heart has a tagging system. Any piece of data connected to her is automatically flagged as important, filed away in a special emotional archive. When he brings up one of these small details, it often seems to come out of nowhere. It is a non sequitur in the conversation, a small leak from his emotional reservoir. He might even seem slightly embarrassed by the fact that he remembered it, quickly changing the subject. For the awakened woman, this is not just a sign of a good memory. It is evidence. It is proof that she occupies real estate in his mind, that thoughts of her are weaving themselves into the fabric of his daily consciousness. Each recalled detail is a quiet testament, a whisper from his heart that says, "I listen to you. I see you. You matter." The fourth behavior is the language of love translated into action. It is the unsolicited act of service. This is not about grand, romantic gestures designed to impress. It is not about buying expensive gifts or orchestrating elaborate dates. Those are the tools of seduction. This is the currency of genuine care. A man who is falling, especially one who is resistant to his own feelings, will often express his affection through practical, helpful actions. It is a safer channel for his emotions. Providing a solution feels less vulnerable than offering a poem. He will notice a problem she is facing, often one she has not even complained about, and he will quietly move to solve it. He might see her struggling to carry heavy boxes and will appear at her side to help without a word. He may hear her mention a technical issue with her computer, and the next day he will send her an article with a step-by-step solution. He protects her in small, almost invisible ways. He might steer a conversation away from a topic he knows is sensitive for her in a group setting. He might take on a small part of her workload on a team project, under the guise of "it was just easier for me to do it." These actions are always framed in practicality, logic, and plausible deniability. He can always justify his help as simple politeness or efficiency. But the woman who sees, she understands the motivation runs deeper. Love, in its most foundational form, is a desire to alleviate the suffering and enhance the well-being of another. This man is instinctively, unconsciously, trying to make her life a little bit easier, a little bit safer, a little bit better. He is not doing it to indebt her to him. He is doing it because her burdens feel, in some small way, like his own. He is demonstrating his value and his care in the most tangible, masculine way he knows how. He is not saying, "I love you," he is saying, "Let me carry that for you." And for the woman who has learned to value substance over style, that quiet act of service is a declaration of love in its purest form. And now we arrive at the fifth and most powerful behavior, the one that requires the most trust from him and the most perception from her. This is the behavior that separates deep, unconscious love from simple, friendly affection. It is what I call the vulnerability leak. Every man, especially a guarded one, wears armor. It is forged from past heartbreaks, societal expectations of strength, and a deep-seated fear of being seen as weak or inadequate. This armor is his fortress, his public face. Most people only ever interact with the armor. But when he is falling in love, tiny, almost imperceptible cracks begin to appear, and only in her presence. A vulnerability leak is a moment when he unconsciously grants her access to the person behind the fortress wall. It is never a full-blown confession of his deepest fears. It is a momentary lapse in his emotional security. It could be a brief, unguarded comment about his family that hints at a complex history. It might be a fleeting expression of genuine self-doubt about his career, shared in a moment of quiet exhaustion. He might share a dream or an ambition with her that feels slightly too personal, too soft for his usual persona. He might even tell a story from his past where he was not the hero, where he was foolish or scared. After such a leak, he will often retreat immediately. He might change the subject abruptly, make a joke to dispel the intimacy of the moment, or withdraw into silence. He has shown her a piece of his unprotected self, and the act itself terrifies him. The awakened woman understands the profound significance of this. She knows she has just been given a sacred gift, a glimpse of his true self, the self he keeps hidden from the world. She does not pry for more. She does not say, "Tell me more about that." To do so would be to spook the gentle creature that has just peeked out of its cave. Instead, she honors the moment with her own quiet, accepting presence. She lets the shared silence hold the weight of what was revealed. This leak is the ultimate tell. He is unconsciously testing the waters with her. Can I be my real self with you? Will you hold my vulnerability without judging it or using it against me? It is in these fragile, fleeting moments that the deepest bonds are forged. He is not just falling for her. He is beginning to trust her with his soul. The world, with its loud opinions and simplistic rules, will not understand this silent dance. Her friends, meaning well, might offer their own interpretations based on conventional wisdom. They will say, "You are just seeing what you want to see." They will advise her. If he really liked you, he would just say it. "You are wasting your time." They will project their own relationship paradigms onto her reality, unable to perceive the subtle frequencies she is now attuned to. This woman listens to their concerns, but she no longer allows their reality to become her own. She has transcended the need for a chorus of external approval. She rejects the cultural script that says a woman's intuition is mere fantasy until it is validated by a man's confession. She understands that her clarity is for her, not for them. Her peace does not depend on the outcome of this connection. It depends on her unwavering trust in her own ability to perceive the truth. She moves through the world with a quiet confidence that others may misinterpret as aloofness or even arrogance. It is neither. It is the tranquility of a sovereign being. She is not anxiously waiting for the story to be defined. She is living in the poetry of its unfolding. She dismisses the labels of a society that needs everything to be categorized and labeled. She knows that some of the most profound connections in life exist in the liminal spaces, in the unspoken understandings, in the sacred territory that lies beyond the clumsy architecture of language. She has stopped fighting for attention and instead radiates a presence that is impossible to ignore. She does not need him to choose her because she has already, unequivocally, chosen herself. Ultimately, the journey of this woman is not about him. It is not a strategy guide for securing a man's love. It is a testament to her own evolution. His silent, unfolding affection is simply the landscape against which her own inner clarity is revealed. The love that may or may not come from this connection is secondary. It will not be her salvation, because she no longer needs saving. If it comes, it will be a celebration, a meeting of two whole souls, not two halves desperately trying to complete themselves. Her real victory is the unshakable peace she has found within. It is the freedom from the frantic anxiety of not knowing. It is the power that comes from trusting her own senses, her own heart, her own deep and ancient wisdom. She has learned that true love does not always shout its name from the rooftops. Sometimes, it is a quiet, persistent presence that helps you with your burdens, remembers your favorite tea, and shows you its secret scars in a moment of shared silence. The ultimate lesson is not about decoding a man. It is about finally learning to trust the woman who is doing the decoding. It is about never losing yourself in the search for love again. Maybe this story found you for a reason. Maybe there is a quiet language in your own life that you have been told to ignore. If something inside you was touched by this message, if a whisper of recognition stirred in your soul, it is because this truth already lives within you, waiting for your attention. This is not just a story about a woman. It is a story about the awakening of a power that lies dormant in so many. Let this be a sign to trust what you feel over what you are told. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Do not do it out of impulse, but out of choice. Like this video as an acknowledgement of your own inner knowing. And subscribe to our channel to continue this journey of deep exploration into yourself and into the world. In the comments below, share your own experience with the silent language of the heart. What is the one quiet behavior that has always spoken volumes to you? Let us create a space where this subtle, profound wisdom is honored and shared.